Hello everyone, in this lesson we'll take a look at the E minor chord. So there are two ways you can fret this with the left hand finger placement. So the first one is a 2 and 3, and then the other one is 1 and 2. So first finger on the second fret of the 5th string, and then second finger on the second fret of the 4th string. And then as always you want to have a slight angle here for your fingers so you can try and fit them close to the fret wire here. You won't be able to get them really close, especially the first finger, but try to get them really close here so that you don't have to expend as much energy. Alright, and then you just want to make sure that you are clearing the strings below here. So that would be the first string here touching this part of my palm. So as I play, because of the angle here, so I'll demonstrate with touching the string. It sounds like that. Clearance is just a few millimeters to get it nice and clear. So with the 2 and 3, now you have this first finger free, something like this. So why would we use different finger placements, fretting finger placements? So it depends on the chords that are coming up next, after the E minor, or the chords that are before the E minor. So for example, if we had, say, this type of G, this type of E minor would be great. But depending on what's coming up next, say like a C, this would also work like that. So 1 and 2 is efficient here. G, then you have a C, and back to E. So basically between my C and E, I have this anchor finger here, the second finger. When we would use this placement of the fingers, so if you say you had B7, then that would now be my anchor finger, the second finger. So you have a nice cadence here, so B7, and then resolution for the E minor. Another way you can use this as well is if you go into this G. So this opens up your first finger. You can do a G7, or you can do a D7 here. From G, C, and then back to E. So depending on what you're using the first finger for, you can go between the two. This way or this way. So let's do a simple chord progression. So here we'll have G, or this G here, sorry. So we'll have this G, and then we'll have the E minor, and then we'll have the C, and then D7, and then back to G. Okay, and so we'll try and see what we can do here. We'll probably change some of these left hand placements or fretting hand placements. All right, so let's start with the G. So we'll do G, E minor, D7, and back to G. So I'll do one example. I'll do this example first, and then I'll do the second example second. So we're going to go G, then we're going to go E minor, then we're going to go D7, and then back to G. Okay, so that was the first one. First one again, G, E, D7, and then G again. So one way you can do this transition from D7 cadence to G is just use this here. So you go without the fourth finger. So you go D7, and then you just move into the G. This is still a G chord. The other example with 2 and 3. So we'll start with the G in this form, and then E minor, and then D7, and then back to G. This is also possible. So if you wanted to add a little bit more interest, you can go So here I started with a G, and then I used the passing tone, F, and then I went to the E, passing note D, and then D7, back to the G. So you can also call the G passing note here G7 with this F. We can add those passing notes in there too for the E. Cadence with the D7. This is the tension making note, F sharp to G. So some ideas there. With strumming, you can do the same thing. It's not that hard. Alright, other uses for E minor. Let's do a chord progression with a C in it. So we'll still use the D7, E minor, and G, but we'll put in a C in there as well. So this is the C shape here. Alright, so we'll have E minor, C, D7, and then we'll go G. So let's use this shape. C, D7, and then G. So that's one example for the left hand, for the fretting hand. And then let's do this other one. So you have two examples here, E minor to C. So when you have this arrangement, 2 and 3, you have to rearrange these two to go into C. But when you have this, you just have to rearrange the first and the third fingers. And then C to D7 is easy. So first finger stays, and then 2 and 3 come along. And then the cadence. Resolution onto the G. Passing notes. So passing notes. So I always think about passing notes if you're having a melody to play. So you have 3 fingers here. So if you're playing an E shape and we want to make some passing notes. That's a nice one. So I had a E, D, E, B, and then C, C, B, C, D. You can do that. You can go D, and then F sharp, G. Alright, that's it for this video. If there's something you have a question about, or if you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know down in the comments. Until next time, happy practicing, and I'll see you then.